Chi Creation, Love and Light, Part 17. So this is the Bubble Nebula. So you can see what it looks like. It's like too glary as I pull away and stuff like. But you can see like the roundness of it, and so the potential for the expansion, and that to create this shape. And then obviously it would contract and repeat and stuff. So if it did make a material such as sand, because that can turn into glass, can't it? Then there is that kind of potential in that kind of way. I say sand. I spoke about it on previous episode. We're talking about source, like God. You know what I mean? Like creating an energy ball. So in the terms of that, like pure chi, it's ready to be turned into something. So like God's intention, the potential for it to create something. Sand is like the most likely thing that I could think in a sense. It's what everything breaks down to. So, there's kind of like a link in that kind of way. It kind of makes some sort of sense and stuff like. But yeah, we can see it's like wispy. I mean, it's not like glass or all that kind of thing, but it's like an early stage. So as the process goes on, I mean, you can see like clouds and there's lots of light here and stuff like so. Whether it's one star, two stars, so we talk about the soulmate, so the dance between the two stars. It could include the chakras as well, so I don't know if we can like make out any of the stars just like in that blinding lightness. All these might be, background stars and stuff like. But yeah, it's like, grasping what it is in that kind of sense. It coincides with what we've previously said. So to find like the bubble nebula, how many of the bubble nebulas like that? Is that like really common? It could be. Depends what we're gonna see. So that's another picture of it. The same one. And so I don't know if that's the last part of it or not. Like in the previous one, we can see it there. It looks, it could just be in the background, but because that trails them in that kind of sense. But it it doesn't have to be. I prefer those up there. They tend to make more sense, as the expansion and contraction, they move around, and it does its thing, its creation thing. So you can see them stars there. Oh, but cloud. So, in nature, this is the caterpillar for the butterfly moth or the larva, whatever it is. So you've got the yin yangs on the side, and we spoke about it before, like how it looks like water, waves, and then the sky. So when we speak about like the bubble of consciousness, it's showing you that window into that world. It's doing the same thing. So you look through the molten glass, and it shows you the picture of the inside there. So for what consciousness is in that kind of way. So I've got another picture of them. Well, that's that full picture. So you can see what it is in that kind of way. A splash of water, a 2-foot wave. You can see like a crocodile's jaw line and skull. Amongst others, because it would fit for a beak and all these kind of things and stuff. You can see the waves, each wave with foot underneath it, so the pressure when the roll-up wave comes over and it grips the sand, you know what I mean? So it's like underneath, under the water, under the surface there, under at the bottom, it's pushing against the ground and all these kind of things. You got a repeat pattern of how it does that. So each wave, so that forms the legs, which were in a previous episode. It's kind of like just adding more to it in that kind of way. Spirit orbs. So when we look at these, so when we consider like a bubble of consciousness, and so what we're seeing in that kind of way, there's an abundance of them. So all different colours as well. And also how star-like they're like. You know, there's not much difference. Let's zoom in a bit more. You see like the ring patterns and stuff. I say they almost look flat when they're like that. The other ones look rounded, so you can see like, you know, it looks like an orb in that kind of sense. But this is the same with stars. You get these same kind of patterns and such. So that one looks like a sun. So when we consider like the sun and the wandering stars as well, because they're all different colours, then there's like a match-up in that kind of sense. So, you know, bubbles of consciousness. It's supposed to be a photograph of one. It's just blue haze, but, you know, it's not picking it up very well. It's just bright. So, yeah, seeing it like that bubble of consciousness. But also like where the light is there. So you got all that pink. And then you got the colour of a world. And then you got it there again as well. It's imperceivable. These, because they look like eyes, and as we're talking about like bubbles of consciousness, and like the chakra, like the all-seeing, all-conscious chakra, it's like the chakra can see, you know what I mean? Like we were talking about plants and that trade-off thing. So it's like, you know, like what plants have that we don't have. Then like, you know, they ain't got eyes, but they've probably got a much better chakra aura system, which maybe give them that ability of sight. You know, in a different way of perceiving it. It's kind of like on an energetic level. It's like they can feel the vibrations, you know. So it's like in that same sense, they can also connect with that. They can see that vibration, basically in a way. It's that psychic intellect. So it's like the plant had an advantage. So when we compare it to like the consciousness, a bubble of consciousness, whatever size it is, when we're talking about the spiritual orbs or the stars that we see in the sky, our own sun, for that example and stuff. Jupiter. We'll back on that for a moment. This is another version of the different ways of taking the images of Jupiter. So now, like you're seeing it, it looks like that bubble of consciousness. It looks like you're seeing inside, and you see the horizon, you see the ocean, the waves coming to the shore. It don't look much different in that kind of way. Relative size of a brown dwarf. Now, so like, see the comparison. See, it don't look much different. that might be done on a different radio wave, like a different, using radio waves to sense it or whatever. Because that's not like, how the sun usually looks and stuff. Like, that's supposed to be a low mass there, but it looks like we've used the image at sun. With one of the different ways of, radio waves and stuff kind of thing. But, so like the similarity, you know what I mean? It's not much different at all. Like I say, if we are using a different type of camera, then we have that. So, contracted, expanded, and they say like the car is a similar size. I think they say it's bigger now, but the reference of the Earth to the eye is supposed to be bigger than Earth as well. But still, in the example they're showing, it's pretty much the same size. But I've got another example, and it gives you a different size example. So they're like more or less the same size. The other one that shows you like brown dwarfs being much bigger. But just having an example. And also what this becomes, it's like, the brown dwarfs and like the life cycles of stars, or how the scientists have perceived them. And so it doesn't mean they're right, because like it takes like such a long time to see a change. So it's like my theory might be able to counteract it. It's another brown dwarf. What did it say? Is it on one of the next pictures? So anyway, very sun-like and also very Jupiter-like. It's a similar pattern again, but it's supposed to be a brown dwarf. It doesn't look real though, It does look like CG or something like that kind of thing. But as the narrative goes and stuff, that looks like a better picture. But also known as a ultra cool brown dwarf star. So it being ultra cool, it said is as hot as a pizza oven. So when we talk about like stars expanding and contracting and stuff, I imagine when it expands, it's going to be hotter. When it contracts, it'll be cooler, So is that relative? Because like, a brown dwarf, I'd expect it to be a lot hotter than a pizza oven. You know what I mean? It's kind of like, it'd be extremely hot. It just seems like extremely low for what the narrative of what they're saying it is. And also, the potentiality for them to be wrong about that estimation, because it is only an estimation. They don't actually know how hot it is there and all these kind of things. But yeah, so this one, we'll look at this one. Again, a brown dwarf. And again, you see like Jupiter, these rings around it and these bands. So, as we look into it, I'll make it smaller maybe. I don't think it helps. That might be better. So it looks like rings, like on an ellipse. So, like, you can see like the shadows on clouds. But like the bubbles of consciousness, it looks like you're actually looking in, and you can see like the development of. I'll zoom in a lot further. It's just that you lose a lot of the detail, and I'm not sure I'll be able to. You can see it better actually. There's one there. You can see like rings in that kind of sense. So it's like the creation of a plane within the bubble. So we speak about like the expansion. The sand heats up, becomes a molten looking glass. So that magnifies the image, so you can see it in that kind of way almost. Um, what I say, I kind of think it does look like that. It's just that the general pictures of Jupiter, like the normal picture that they give us, you don't get that same image and stuff like. But I'll go on to that in a second. So yeah, the glass that contains all the sand and whatever spectral matter or whatever what the cheese kind of produced and stuff. Um, yeah, and just holds it in. But that's another one. So this one which kind of says it differently. Um, so the brown dwarf is like 13 to 80 times the size of Jupiter. The other one were like more or less the same size, and so here it's like it's a lot more in that kind of way. That's a star. Other one was a different kind of star, wasn't it? A low summit star. I can't remember what it said now. But just in reference, I mean, this is another aspect of like the space narrative. It's not keeping up with itself, because like if it's saying it's same size as Jupiter and then another side saying it's way bigger, then they need to pick up their pace. But yeah, another aspect of like the size and stuff is to do with the distance. So like the assumed distance compared to like the real distance, that's a different thing completely. So the assumptions of sizes and all these kind of things is well, just that it's an assumption. So yeah, I wanted to look at this spot for the eye of the storm and stuff. So we look at it like chi rather than the ocean waves. It's doing the same thing. The ocean waves role, and that's the matchup that it finds for creating life and stuff. So it synchronizes with the pattern of what the chi does, and then that's part of its matchup. So all the patterns in the flower of life and all these kind of things also contribute to that as well. But so rather than looking through a window and seeing waves, we're looking through a window and seeing chi do its thing, and that's its creation process and stuff like that. So we are still looking through a bubble and seeing like a realm of existence in that kind of sense and stuff, but it's in a process. It looks like it's in the development process. Like I said, like if all the different luminaries are like a different representation of the birth of the realm. So you have one chakra and representing the beginning, the end, etc. That's a different colour one. Looking at the eye in that kind of sense and stuff. It's going to be used in another episode and stuff, but in consideration of like if this is the real image, you know what I mean? Because like there are issues with it to begin with, like there's no curvature. You can see it looks flat. You know what I mean? There's issues whenever you look at them. They look computer generated and all these kind of things and stuff. Whereas that one might be authentic. It's just for using a different kind of camera lens thing, radio waves or whichever and stuff. Whereas this might be completely fabricated. It's like made to look like that, but to give that idea. Well, I think they'll try to create rotundity. I don't know. We'll go into that later as well. But another way of looking at it, like in the terms of, I can't zoom in. If all that sand And then that kind of explains the colours. And the red, that'd be the two suns colliding, you know what I mean? And then like making the chi and making the realm in that kind of sense and stuff like. So it's like a part of that process and stuff. So in one sense, it's like the colours can make sense. It's just that that one looks the most authentic. And it's like when you look through a telescope and that's, you know, more of a colour that look like, maybe not that bit, because they are using a different lens, aren't they? They're using the ultraviolet, infrared on the left. And that's supposed to be just normal. But you tend to get that more glary, that colourful glare in a sense. Which looks more like the bubbles of consciousness, like the spiritual orbs, all that kind of thing. Yeah. So you've got a roll of a wave, the sunlight catches in the roll. And then you've got a wall of a wave where the sunlight's catching as well. And so if you see it like this is like a wave which is turning over, that's a wave in background about to turn over. You can see it's about to turn over there. So it's like, you know, building up in that kind of sense. But how it's reminiscent of what we get. And when we compare it to the animals, and you know, these aspects are really important. It's kind of like that roll, the wall of a wave and the roll and stuff, how it's connected to its anatomy and portrayed in all the different colours and patterns in nature. I think there's more I want to say about it, but I don't know. I can't remember. It's just a different way of looking at them stuff. Though. This one is bright, but it looks like they tried to take a side view. But it's all flat. It looks like when they try to fake the curvature of Earth. You know what I mean? There's something wrong with it. You can't see it when it's glaring. It's a shame. Yeah, I don't know. Another colour, alternate colour and stuff. The green's interesting as well. So I read an article, but it didn't describe anything about the different use of cameras and stuff, that kind of thing, a way of taking the image. They described it as an anomaly, and that's all they said, kind of thing. Like, but in terms of like seeing it as chi and seeing like, you know, it's like the dome and all that kind of stuff. If that's like the realm, you know, the circle and stuff, how that represents it and stuff. I don't know. It adds curiosity to it and stuff. So we got glare in eyes and stuff. I haven't got enough time. I've got another 5 minutes, but I haven't got enough time to finish this episode. It looks like there's stars inside there. but also the green. So, like all the different frequencies, and so you got green and red there. So, like when we look at the sun and all them kind of things, we've got all the different ways of seeing it, and I've got pictures to add to it. That's not picking up for that one. Blue and green. All of them. Loads of colours. So, we compare it to the sky, and we've got like that lens effect in the sky. So, our sky is like a lens in itself. So, as we're describing the realm to be like all seeing and all conscious. So, you can get like more white in this kind of one, yellow, pink on the previous two. It's a blue going down to orange and red. Different hues and stuff and everything. The sky kind of like goes through all those colours, doesn't it? And it's an example of like the frequencies in a way. But also, we look across, we see like in the distance, it looks like the surface of a sun. And it's like, when we look at the bubble and we look at the edge, we can see the colours at the edge. But when we look through the middle, it's imperceivable. So like there's there's a relationship there with it. So we've got all the different ways of seeing the sun. That's how far it comes out as well. Let's see there as well, like the Aurora Borealis, which I'm not going to be able to fit in this episode. I have to do it as a double episode. So this is several types of photography at once, and different telescopes all put together. So I think that like chose or highlighted the use of colours. But I don't know where I would have chose, but I'd consider it cheating because it's not authentic anymore. You know what I mean? It's kind of like a mixture. So it's like all at once or whatever and stuff. But so I see outlines. I'll leave it there. And next couple of pictures will lead on to Aurora. So thank you for watching, and I'll catch you all later. Nice one, cheers.